Let's step back in time as we take a rail journey along the scenic Oregon coast. Let's get started.
Completed in 1912, the Tillamook branch of the Southern Pacific Railroad hauled timber and tourists from the Portland, Oregon area to and from the coast. The line had several owners and continued operation up into the 1950s. In 2007, a tropical storm caused extensive damage and the railroad was closed. But that wasn't the end of the line. Local businessman Scott Wickert had a vision while working at the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad. He would preserve the history of Pacific Northwest railroading.
We saw how much fun it was up in Washington State operating steam trains, and we had some different ideas on how we could do things better, and we wanted to give it a shot.
In 2000, Scott acquired the Curtis Lumber Company No. 2 and brought it to the port of Tillamook, Oregon.
The Heisler was owned by Jack Anderson, who I worked for at Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad, and we had a chance to acquire it from him, and we moved it from its location, which was Ashford, Washington, up to Mount Rainier Scenic, and we restored it in our spare time up there. And it took us about a year to do the boiler work on it.
Today, the Oregon coast uses a rod-type locomotive.
We have our steam locomotive, the McLeod 25. That is a 262 built for the McLeod River Railroad of McLeod, California in 1925, and served for them for almost 87 years. They used it in log service and occasional excursion service.
In addition to historic locomotives, the railroad also has a preserved fleet of rolling stock.
We have our regular excursion cars. They're open cars, and so people generally like to sit on those on our nice days. We also have a 1924 Southern Pacific Pullman commuter coach. Was used by them in commuter service between San Francisco and San Jose. We brought that up here in 2008. It was restored over a 3-year period by our dedicated volunteers. We also have the newest piece of rolling stock, a 1963 caboose built for the Rock Island. That's our portable ticket office, so that goes with the train. We also have a baggage car, a converted baggage car, started life as a heavyweight and is a smooth-sided, streamlined car.
While steam brings in the tourists, the Oregon coast hasn't forgotten diesel power.
We also have our General Motors EMD F7, and that was built in 1953 for the Great Northern Railroad, the Empire Builder, and spent some time under Burlington Northern as well as Puget Sound and Pacific. The GP9 was built for Chesapeake and Ohio and worked for them for a number of years. It was bought by the Port of Tillamook Bay in 1990 for their railroad out here, and we acquired it just a few years ago, and we generally use it on our dinner trains. The RDCs started out working for the Susquehanna, then they were acquired by the Port of Tillamook Bay in the early 90s and used for their excursion service out here, and we use them courtesy of the port.
But it is the experience that most people come here to see.
Basically, the majority of our excursion trains operate between Garibaldi and Rockaway Beach. We offer a variety of environments to see as we go along the coast. We start on Tillamook Bay. You can look across the bay and look over at Bay Ocean Spit. We go along a lake called Smith Lake, and then we come into Rockaway, which is basically you're parallel with the ocean. You get a nice view of the ocean, some other small lakes along the way. It's an authentic historical railroad experience as people would have experienced back in the day. Our passenger coach is very similar to what it would have appeared as built. Our steam locomotives, we try and keep them close to as built as possible. And generally, we like to give people the historic holiday experience that's associated with this railroad that people enjoyed at the turn of the century. Last year, we had 13,000 riders. This year, we have 18,000. And our ridership continues to improve year by year.
And what does the future hold for the Oregon Coast Railroad?
We would eventually like to be able to expand service south to Tillamook, and also be able to offer more excursions on the northern half of our line above Wheeler. We've leased the trackage from the Port of Tillamook Bay, We've done a lot of work to clear back the brush, and that's been encroaching on the right-of-way.
Scott Wicker did indeed have a vision, and in fulfilling his dream, he has made it possible for people of all ages to experience the history of railroading.